In this video, we're going to learn how to do long division. So we can break long division into 3 steps. The first would be divide, the second would be multiply, and the last would be subtract. And then you would repeat that. So let's take a look at this example here on the left. We want to figure out the values in which 3 goes into each one of these numbers. So we look at the first value here, which is going to be a 6. So we do that first step, we're going to divide. So we need to think, how many times does 3 go into 6? Or 6 divided by 3. And so we know that that would be 2 times. Then we were going to multiply. So 2 times 3 is equal to 6. We put that 6 down here, and then we subtract that. So now we look at 6 minus 6, which would be 0. And now we're going to repeat those steps again for each one of the values. So we're going to take a look at this 3. We drop the 3 down, and now we want to look at the 3 here. So we take a look at this 3, and we take a look at this 3. What is 3 divided by 3? Well, that's going to be 1, right? Or you can think of it as how many times does 3 go into 3? That's 1 times. Now we're going to go back. We're going to multiply. 1 times 3 is 3. So we put that 3 here, and then we subtract that. So 3 minus 3 is 0. And now we drop down this other value, and we're going to repeat the same process. So 9 divided by 3 we know is 3, or how many times does 9 go into 3? Then we multiply, so 3 times 3 is 9. Then we subtract those values and we get 0. Now we see we're at the end of our number, and we don't have any more values here. This is a 0. So that means that our answer is going to be 213, meaning that if we divide 639 divided by 3, the answer is 213. Moving on to this example, we have 4,820 divided by 2. Now we're going to follow these steps again. We're going to divide, multiply, subtract, and then repeat that. So we look at division. We're going to look at that first value here. How many times does 4 divide into 2? That's going to be 2, right? Then we multiply that. 2 times 2 is 4, and we subtract those values. Now 4 minus 4 is 0. Now we bring down this 8. Now we're going to look at the 8. Let's divide 8 by 2. So how many times does 8 go into 2? That's going to be 4 times. We multiply that. 4 times 2 is 8. Then we subtract that. 8 minus 8 is 0. Now we're going to bring down this 2. Okay, now let's follow the same steps again. We divide. How many times does 2 go into 2? That's going to be 1 time. 1 times 2 is 2. We subtract those values, and we get a 0. Now we're going to drop down the 0 here. Now 0 is a little bit tricky, but you can think of it this way, is how many times does 0 go into 2, right? That's going to be 0 times, because if you multiplied 0 times 2, you would get 0. So our final answer is going to be 2,410. Moving on to 2-digit numbers, we still follow the same set of rules. We're going to divide, then we're going to multiply, then we're going to subtract, and then we'll repeat that. Now we have 7,600, and we're going to divide that by 25. So we'll start with the first value. So how many times does 7 go into 25? Well, that's 7. That's too small of a number. It's 0, right? We can't divide that. So we'll have to put 0 here. Now we're going to multiply that. 0 times 25 will be 0. Anything multiplied by 0 is always 0. Now we subtract. 7 minus 0 is 7. Now we're going to move the 6 down. Okay, so now we have 76 divided by 25. How many times does 76 go into 25? Now, if you don't know what it could be, you can take some guesses and see what you get. I am pretty sure it's going to be 3 times. And so let's see if that's the case. So we just divided. Now we're going to multiply. 3 times 5 will be 15. We'll put the 5 there. We put a 1 right here. Now we multiply across to the 2. So 3 times 2 is 6. 6 plus 1 is 7. So that's 75. Now we'll move on. We're going to subtract. Okay, 76, or 6 minus 5 is 1. 7 minus 7 is 0. So now we have 1. We're going to bring down this 0. Put a 0 here. How many times does 10 go into 25? Well, that's going to be 0 again, right? 10 is smaller than the number that we're dividing by. And if that's the case, that just means that it's going to be 0. So 0 again times the number is always going to be 0. So we're going to put a 0 here. Now we're going to do that third step. We're going to subtract. So we have 1, 0. And now we bring down this 0 here. So we have 100. How many times does 100 go into 25? Well, I know that for 3 times it was 75. If we add 25, I believe that's 100. So I think it is 4 times, and let's double check. So we take that 4, right, we just divided. Now we're going to multiply. 4 times 5 is going to be 20. So we put a 0 there, put a 2 here. 4 times 2 is 8. We add that 2 from the 20, so 2 plus 8 is going to be 10. So it was 100. We subtract that, and we get 0. Now we've run out of numbers here. We don't have any remainders, right? Everything adds up to 0 at the end. So our answer is going to be 304. We followed the same steps. We're going to divide, multiply, and subtract. So 1 divided by 12, that can't happen. So that's 0. It's too small of a number. Now we multiply that. 0 times 12 is 0. We subtract that. 1 times 0 is 1. Now we bring down that 7 and we repeat the process. How many times does 17 go into 12? I think 1 time, right? 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 1 is 1. Right? 1 times 12 is 12. If we subtract that, we're going to get 7 minus 2, which is 5. 1 minus 1 is 0. So we got a remainder of 5. We got leftover of 5. We bring down the 6. Now we have 56. Now we're going to repeat the process. Okay, let's divide. How many times does 56 go into 12? I believe that is 4 times. Let's check. We're going to multiply. 4 times 2 is going to be equal to 8. 4 times 1 is equal to 4. We subtract that. Let's see. We're going to carry this over. We put a 4 here. We put the 1 there. 16 minus 8 is going to be 8. This is going to be 0. Now, to always be able to double check to know if you have the right number is that whenever you subtract, that number right here, this 8, should always be less than what you're dividing by. So if we got 13 right here, we would know that this was incorrect. So we need to change this value because 13 would be bigger than 12. So make sure this value is always less than what you're dividing by. Okay, so we just now need to repeat. So we're going to take this 4, we're going to drop the 4 down here. So now how many times does 84 go into 12? And I believe that's going to be 7 times. So 7 times 2 is 14. Put a 4 here, we put a 1 right here. 7 times 1 is 7. We add that 1 is 84. Now we subtract that, and we're going to get 0. We're out of numbers, so our answer is 147.